Thermophobia, the fear of heat, is a temperature-related fear that describes the intolerance of high temperatures such as heat, fire, and hot conditions related to heat. This phobia is triggered by the anxiety increasing in your body. The hormone that increases this anxiety is called cortisol, also known as the stress hormone. In this case, the cortisol increases during the hot months rather than the cold ones. And it affects the brain's central nervous system, which results in a lot of symptoms that are less desirable. During these symptoms, you may experience increase of a heart rate, increase of breathing, high blood pressures, muscle tendencies, trembling, excessive sweating, and even though panic attacks are incredibly rare with this kind of phobia, I can only imagine someone's house burning down and they're so scared that they literally just cannot move and faint instead. Just like the other video, thermophobia is only the general term of a fear of heat. It branches out into many other phobias in which we will be discussing. For instance, eastophobia is the fear of hot weather. Weather is boiling hot during the day or is the humidity at night. The fear of going outside during a hot summer day is the worst season to ever exist. The second side effect of this phobia is obviously the stories that they read online, instilling thoughts that they could possibly get harmed when they're outside, whether to a heat stroke or heat exhaustion, which are two very possible things that could happen to literally anybody if they're not hydrated, which instills fear in their mind to make them think that they could be a victim of collapsing underneath the sun. The potential heat emanating from your car if it's not parked in the shade, or a building that glares back at you during those very hot days. And yes, even the ground is a victim of being too hot for these people. Which goes without saying that hot sand at the beach is their sworn nemesis that they swear to never touch. And a select few with this phobia tend to walk around with umbrellas to shade them as they walk to their destinations. Heliophobia. The main reason to all this madness, the sun itself. The repulsive fear of the sun. That's right, this day star, or in this case, Death Star, is one of the main reasons why the fear of heat exists in the first place. But the main fear of the sun is because it is a main contributor to skin cancer. Whether it's an increased knowledge of skin cancer or whether someone died from skin cancer, they want nothing to do with the sun's UV rays touching their skins. But rest assured that there are other phobias, such as lavaphobia, which is the fear of hot lava, or aromaphobia, which is the fear of spicy foods. This is really due to the sensitivity of the mouth and the feeling of those same hot foods in the stomach. And we can't forget about pyrophobia, a fear that I had when I was younger, which is the overwhelming fear of fire. I can personally attest to this one, and I would like to make my case. I just didn't trust fire growing up, you know? It's moving around and dancing, looking at you. I thought it would be the fire like from SpongeBob. And look at this guy. He literally just burns his house down. He burns the whole house. I know it's a dream, but he just burns the house down. That monster just going around burning stuff down. So my thing was mainly the sight of the fire, but obviously it affects all 5 of the senses, mainly smell, because if you smell fire, your brain instinctually tells you there's a fire in that direction. Maybe I should walk the opposite way. The sound of fire, the crackling of a campfire could raise anxieties as well. Obviously, to say the least, no one is out there intentionally tasting fire, but everybody is afraid of the feel of fire. Everyone. Which opens up doors to a brand new phobia, encavmophobia, commonly known as burnmophobia, which is the fear of getting burned. Obviously, touching a hot stove as a 5-year-old boy didn't really help, but my parents let me do it because they knew if I touched it, I would never touch it again. And guess what? It worked until I became a teenager, so I guess good parenting on their part. You know what's even worse than touching a hot stove? Using a hot stove. Majorcophobia occurs when you are fearful of cooking or the idea of cooking. And truth be told, this phobia is more of a self-criticizing phobia, you see. People with this phobia just have the idea of making mistakes while they're cooking, and to avoid those mistakes, they just say to themselves, hey, I could just avoid cooking altogether, which in today's lifestyle is possible. They can go out to eat. You can have food delivered to your home. And there are plenty of alternatives, so you probably could theoretically go your whole life without even needing to cook. Now it's time to shine a light on some phobias that don't get enough appreciation for what they are. The underrated heat phobias. Starting with lighter phobia, which is the fear of lighters. Spetophobia, which is the fear of matches or matchboxes. Which I can only imagine you're not a smoker if you have both of these phobias combined. Agropyrophobia, which is a descriptive fear of forest fires and wildfires. Microwaveophobia, which is the fear of microwaves. Phonophobia, which is the fear of ovens. Aeromophobia, which is the fear of deserts. And let's end the video with the fear of tanning beds, which doesn't really have a name, but it is a chronic fear. It's a mix-up, match-up fusion dance between clethophobia, claustrophobia, and heliophobia, as we mentioned before.